Ellen McCauley of Prairie Off in Syracuse, New York. And before I start talking about stress, I would like to know who put this on my stand that says it's time for fried haddock. It may be time for, and they have an evil son. I am telling you, it's funny because I made myself laugh. I watch my own blogs, and I laugh every time I say people write baked fish, people write broiled fish, and then they write fish. And we all know that as I started laughing at that myself. And you know, we went to an all-inclusive resort, and I never saw more food in my life. And I did not judge anyone else, but we decided that we were going to have breakfast and we were going to have dinner, but we never had lunch. There was no way we could have eaten 3 meals a day. No way. Now, some people had breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, pizza. Everywhere you look, food, drinks. Now, I'm not saying I was perfect. Believe me, far from it. But I tried not to be crazy. Do you ever know that sometimes you just go crazy? And your God is your stomach, as Judy said. And you know, you make a few healthy choices, and then you get full. You're like, wait a minute, I really wanted that honker piece of pastry, but where am I going to put it? So, now I want to get into talking about stress. This first handout was given by Professor Mike Filipski at our stress handout, at our stress Holy Family meeting that we had. And many of us went. So I'm just going to hit some of the high points on this. He said the 3 main things that give people stress are money, health, and jobs. Now that might be true for many, many, many people. And when it gets to health, it doesn't have to be your health. It could be your family member's health. So that makes sense to me too. So he starts out by saying, are you a victim or are you a victor? Because it's easy to become a victim. And he talked about plum disease, Plom. And many, many, many of us have that and don't even realize it. And that stands for poor little old me. I got plum disease because I can't eat everything I want at the buffet. I can't wear a 2-piece bathing suit. Poor me. Is that supposed to be stressful? No. Now, there is good stress that motivates us to face problems and solve problems. And then there's the distress, where we have sometimes an overreaction to certain things that are going on. So he says we need to look at life's situations and try to stay as calm and as positive as we can and not overreact. When I overreact is when I'm tired or when I'm sick. I overreact then. Bob knows if something happens and I'm tired or don't feel good, he's like, oh, geez, this isn't good, you know? But if I'm feeling good, everything's fine, I'm like, I go with the flow. And it's also so often that you end up fixating on things. We had a perfect trip. The flights were great. Everything was super. We get into the airport in Syracuse, and I'm heading towards, I'm going like this, and some guy was coming through with his suitcase, and it wasn't even to protect me because I had plenty of room, but he wanted to go through with his suitcase, so he shoved me. And I was like, oh, he put his hands on me and shoved me, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And that's all I talked about the whole way home. Can you believe he shoved me? Can you believe he had the nerve to shove me? I was shoved. And I'm like, you don't shove me. You don't put your hands on me. And then I didn't want Bob to fight with him because he could have. He could have said, don't you ever put your hands on, don't touch my wife. And then here we had a perfect, wonderful trip. And I've been fixated on someone shoving me. Ever do that? Just fixate. So now I'm doing the whole thing. Let it go, Ellen. Let it go. Let it go. And I'm better today because I've had a whole day to fixate on it. And it gets tiring fixating. Do you ever get so tired of it? Oh, okay, how many times am I going to replay that? How many times am I going to do it? But I refuse to ruin a perfect trip by something that happens. And God's always trying to teach me something. You know, sometimes I'm like, really? Oh, I got to learn something new. He wants to teach me that there's going to be good, 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 good. Maybe a little bad. Suck it up, Ellen. Walk it off. It's like my nephew Jasper, he couldn't get all his homework done, and my sister was trying to help him and all that. So he goes home and he says to his mother, I couldn't get all my homework done, and guess what Grandma says to me? Walk it off. Well, she never said that. That's a sports term, you know, but I think it's a good term. Sometimes we just need to walk stuff off. Walk it off. Also, we need to not overreact. Did I go flying? Did I get an injury? Did I break my arm? Was I on the floor? None of those things happen. Don't overreact. And change the focus. And say, he's more to be pitied than censored. You know, I'm a better person. Let it go, Ellen. We need to retrain our brain with positive mantras. Like, aren't I lucky to be alive? Aren't I lucky to be safe? Aren't I lucky to be healthy? Aren't I just plain lucky? And then they look at different things that causes stress here. Driving in your car in rush hour. Now, I usually don't get stressed unless I'm in a rickety cab going 80 miles an hour in a foreign country where they're driving on the wrong side of the road. That's scary because everyone's on the left side of the road and you think it's a mistake. But what could I do about it? I couldn't get out and drive the car. I ended up closing my eyes and saying the rosary, you know? Getting a last-minute work assignment can be stressful. You need to allocate time. Also, misplacing something in the house. Do you ever put something away before a trip and then you come home and you're like, oh yeah, I have my work badge for the Syracuse City School District and I'm going to work tomorrow, and I'm like, then you start second guessing yourself. Why can't I remember where I put that? Oh my gosh, I'm not getting something wrong with my memory now, am I? Well, why? And then you go through all these things, you know. And of course I found it, but it's a pain to misplace something, and it can be stressful if you allow it to be. Dealing with incompetence at work. And usually that's all of our jobs because we think we're so great and everyone else is incompetent, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
Don't we? Everyone else is incompetent, not us. Our budget, and this is, I think, important. My mother taught us the fine rule that you don't buy things unless you can afford them. People are putting credit cards, credit cards, credit card, credit card. My mother said, you don't do that. Being blamed for something. I hate this. I'm Irish, so if one of you right now said, there's $20 missing from my purse, the first thing I would say is, well, I didn't do it. I wasn't near your purse. It wasn't me. You know? And being blamed for something you didn't do, very stressful. Waiting in a long line. We all had to get in line in the Bahamas to go through customs before we got on the plane. I said to Bob, I don't think I've ever been in a longer line. It took us 1 hour to be in this line, and we talked and laughed and talked and laughed. What good was stressing out about it being? We weren't going to be late for our plane. We were there 3 hours early. So you just have to go with the flow. And then you have to learn to take self-talk and say things like, I'm relaxed. I'm not going to fixate on this. It doesn't matter. It's all good. And start believing it. Talk rational to yourself. Say, I can do this. It's okay. I have this. It's all good. And the worst thing he says you can do is stress about the past or stressed about the future. Both of those are ridiculous stressors because you can't redo the past and you can't go into the future. And worrying that you're going to have enough money for retirement when you're 50 can be very stressful, or you can just make some better plans. Bob and I sat down, I don't know, what was it, 20 years ago now, with this financial planner, and he says, well, you're going to have to do these 10 things, and we did everything he told us to do. And then when we got ready to retire, he goes, you actually did what I told you to do? He says, nobody ever does that. And he goes, and you are in great shape now. You have to do what you need to do. Also, lead an organized life. Now, if you're going to put something away, make sure you either write down where you put it or don't put it in some crazy. I do crazy things like, I better not say because someone could watch the blog and then they'll know all my hiding spots. But I forget my hiding spots, you know? Also, stand up for your own rights. There's a difference of standing up for your own rights and making a scene. You know, the person who shoved me, I could have made a big, big scene. And standing up for my own rights, there's blowhards, there's people who do things. Was I hurt? No. But when it gets to the point where there is a time for you to stand up for your own rights, you need to do it very calmly. I noticed you said this to me, and I don't feel comfortable with this. Something as simple as my sister, I had one time bought a very expensive dress, and this was 1989, and I let her wear it before I ever wore it. We actually cut the tags off of it. So she said, remember how I wore that dress, but you know, you had worn it a million times. I'm like, oh no, remember we cut the tags off it. And that was important to me because I thought it was very nice of me to let her wear it before I ever wore it. So you can just agree to disagree without yelling or getting in a big fight about it. Also, mellow, adjusting to life's challenges. That is so difficult. It is so difficult to adjust to life's challenges because there's always going to be something that zigs or zags. We bought a credit card. I called Empower, told them that we were going. I get down there. Bob wanted to buy me something nice for our anniversary, and the credit card got rejected. And I started thinking it was something bad. Somebody stole everything. And all it was if you buy anything at Best Buy and it's on a recurring thing, like we have a software, they will hold up your whole credit card till you approve that Best Buy charge. But I couldn't approve it because I didn't have text messages because I was in a foreign country. But I started spinning out. Oh, someone stole our credit card. Oh my gosh, we're going to go home and not have a house. Oh my gosh. This is what I mean. You need to say, I'm sure this is the new Ellen. Not really, but I'm pretending. Oh, Bob, our credit card was denied. I'm sure there's a logical reason, and I'm not going to get one bit upset about that. Let's play cash for the present, and we'll worry about it later. You know, I wish I could be like that. And I'm going to maybe try to work on it, but that day isn't today. But I am. Then this next article is very long, but it's very good, and I want to hit a few high points. It's called 31 Ways to Stop Stressing Over Things You Can't Control. Basically, most of life we can't control. And the things we can control, we're not good at. We can control brushing our teeth. Most of us are pretty good at brushing our teeth. We don't have to write it down. Brush my teeth. Okay, I did that. Highlight it. No, we're pretty good at it. Eating healthy. We're in control of that. We don't always do it. The next thing is partial control. Well, you know, getting a promotion, well, we can work hard and try hard, but there's politics, there's money, there's things. Winning a competition. You can do your very best, but there is a competition. The third thing is becoming sick. Now, when I say becoming sick, I don't mean from preventative things. You know, I mean from things that you have no control over, or your spouse getting sick, the state of the economy, etc. And then it talks about if you really are disciplined and organized over the things you can control, it gives you more time and power to work on the things that are out of your control. And the things that are out of your control, if you worry about them, there's people who are in a frenzy about what's going on in our country. And I appreciate that. I understand things are serious. But how is you working yourself into high blood pressure going to make anything better? Also, we need to, let me just go ahead. Take care of things that you have control over. I said that, eating healthy. And then we need to also Stop regretting the past. Just let that stinking past go. Go. There you go. It's over. Don't spend time on the future. And then you need to plan ahead. You need to say, I'm going to eat healthy this week, and I'm going to buy this, and I'm going to eat that. And then you are in more control because you planned ahead. And set realistic expectation. Some people on their pray it off goals wrote down crazy things. They wrote down, like, I want to lose 75 pounds. I'm like, you realize that you weigh 150 now and 75 pounds makes you 75? And they go, oh yeah, that is kind of lofty. I always say, let's start with 10, okay? Also, do something productive. Nothing makes you feel less stressed than doing something. If you're stressed, go for a walk. If you're stressed, ride your bike. If you're stressed, help somebody else. Help somebody else. I was very busy weighing people and everything, but a Pray It Off member asked me a very important question, and I just took a moment to write down a couple of things that she can think about and said, call me Sunday, we'll talk about it more. You always can make time, even when things are hectic, to help somebody else. Also, focus on things that are going well. I had a great time. We had a wonderful time. Bob and I were in our glory. So someone shoved me. Does that ruin the whole trip? No, it does not. Okay? Also, over-empathizing. Let's say somebody else is going through a very difficult time. You can be kind, you can be loving, but don't let it stress you out. Ask for help, that's huge. Reframe the situation. Some of the most stressful things that ever happened to me were for my own good. And I learned from it, and I went forward, and I had a much better life. At the time, I didn't think it. And you know, now I'm tempted to say very frequently, what does God want me to learn from this? Where am I going from this? What is going on here? And find the humor. I would say of 100%, I can laugh about 95% of the stuff. There's still 5% I'm like, that's not funny. And I don't want to talk about it. But there's 95% we can talk about and laugh hysterically about, okay? Find the humor. And I like this. Turn your struggles into art. Write a poem about what you're going through, even if no one will ever read it. Do some art. I've been in many museums lately, and there's nothing any of you can't do that can look any worse than some of the things I've seen hanging on those walls. I look at it and go, there's a black canvas. And then the art critics, they show despair versus hope versus coming and going and being and loving. And I'm like, it's a black canvas. There's nothing on it, you know? So, do a painting. That'll make you feel better. Glass is half full. The stinking glass is always half full. Just remember that. Also, forgive people. You need to forgive people. We're going to talk more about that as meetings go on. I forgive the guy who shoved me. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Also, cut your losses. If something's happened, you just got to go forward. Cut your losses. Savor the victories, and there are victories. Why should you relive bad things when you can relive good things that happened to you? And don't think about things or plan things right before bed. Bob was notorious. When I used to drive 50,000 miles a year, we'd be right ready to lay down. He'd say, honey, be careful on those icy roads on the way to Scranton tomorrow, okay, honey? And I know we meant well, but then I'm laying there thinking, what if I die? What if I'm on the icy road? What about this? So we made a pact. Don't say it. Just say, good night, I love you, you know? So don't plan or think about things right before bed. Socialize more often, but don't eat more often, okay? You don't need to eat. You can socialize without eating, okay? And remember everything you've overcome. Everybody in this room could stand up here and make us all weep about something that's happened to us in our lives. I could call you up one by one, and we'd be on our knees, sobbing. We overcame that. We're over it. We're here. So we need to say, good for you. Good for you. We overcame it. Also, Make sure you say, this will make a great story someday, and think about how you will tell it. I've got some breathing exercises here, and I want you to practice them. I want you to go home and actually go through this. Get into a comfortable position. Inhale deeply through your nose. Place one hand on your abdomen, one hand on your chest. I want you to practice deep breathing because I've been doing more and more of it, and it does calm you down. Listen to this. Breathing is one of the simplest things in the world. We breathe in, we breathe out. When we breathe with real freedom, we neither grasp for nor hold on to the breath. The process of breathing is the most accurate metaphor we have for the way that we approach life, how we live our lives, and how we react to the inevitable changes and stresses that life can bring us. There's a great recipe here. It's quick roasted chicken with kale slaw, with mashed sweet potatoes, with kiwi and strawberries. If you don't like one of those items, switch it up. But the whole thing is only 485 calories, 31 grams of protein, and only 210 milligrams of sodium. The key, though, is 1/2 cup of mashed sweet potatoes. Okay, remember that. Go stop right there, Bobby.